All right, I'll leave a link in the pinned comment or description where you can go check out the video that shows a 33 mil versus a 1 and 5/16 socket. Apparently they're supposed to be the same, but it looks like there's a big difference between the two. So if you work on semi trucks, or if you think all you need is a 33 mil for semi lug nuts, maybe it's something to check out. What I wanted to do is give a little background how this discussion came about between the 33 and the 1 and 5/16. And what I did a couple of weeks ago is I posted a video of this DCF 900 trying to loosen a axle nut. It's in the shorts videos, and it couldn't do it. It was having some trouble, and people got really like wound up about that video. They left some nasty comments. I honestly don't know how some people feel they can just leave these kinds of nasty comments over tool videos. It's really strange, but people do. Some people left other kinds of comments like the battery wasn't charged, I don't know what I'm doing, or the tool is defective. So this is the same DCF 900 that was in the Skidmore video. I think there are only 2 of these on YouTube that have been torque tested. One on torque test channel, and one here, right, on a Skidmore. So there's nothing wrong with this particular DCF 900. It's making the power. You can see it on the Skidmore, and it's the same tool that was in the yard video, so it can put out the work. It just was not able to loosen that axle nut easily. It eventually did it, but not in 1 minute. So I think, there's no point in posting tools that can just loosen stuff, and that's what you see. It's interesting to post them when they're not able to loosen stuff. I find that interesting, but people are very passionate about their brands, like their DeWalt versus Milwaukee, and they support their team like passionately, and they don't want to see their DeWalt fail, because that automatically gives the Milwaukee people, the users, the fans, kind of a bragging point. And it's a very passionate thing, like it's like sports, right? So it is what it is, right? So among all those useless comments, there was one particular one from the user Julio Gonzo. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but what they noticed was my 32 mil, and you can see this 32 mil, like this thing is brand new. There's nothing wrong with this thing. There's nothing wrong. It's barely used. They noticed the socket got jammed on the axle nut, which it did. And what happens when the socket gets jammed on the axle nut or the fastener, the socket stops impacting. It stays still, and the tool starts reciprocating back and forth. And that's not the point of an impact wrench. It's to have the socket hammer on the fastener. That's the whole point of the impact wrench. And in part of that clip, you could see the socket getting jammed. Up and the tool moving back and forth. And they were talking about how they were having trouble with their semi lug nuts in their DeWalt. This video has nothing to do with DeWalt, by the way. They just happen to be DeWalt user, and they have a DeWalt as well. And they were having trouble with their 33 mil getting jammed up on their semi lug nuts. And so we were talking, and I remember a semi lug nut video from years ago when the 899 came out, the DeWalt 899, and the user was using a 33 mil, and on almost every single lug nut, the socket was getting jammed up. So I sent that to them, and I happen to have a Ingersoll clip, Ingersoll Rand W7152 impact that was jamming up with a 19 mil on a crank pulley bolt. And you could clearly see the socket stay still while the impact is reciprocating back and forth. So I sent those over, and we were talking about it, and they actually made a video trying a 33 mil against a 1 inch and 5/16, I believe. And the difference is huge. Like, it's a huge difference. You can see it in the video, where this just didn't seem to fit right on their semi-truck lug nuts. It was just too loose. It was getting jammed in between the points, whereas the 1 inch and 5/16 was working perfectly, which is interesting because even though I don't know much about semi-truck stuff, I do know that people in that part of the industry, they use these interchangeably, 33 mil and 1 and 5/16. They even say it's the same, and apparently, according looking at this video, it's not the same. So if you're having trouble with your socket getting jammed on the lug, it might be something to look at. Do you have the right size? And in this case, with my axle nut, it's a 32 millimeter axle nut. This is a 32 millimeter socket. It's pretty much a right size. For whatever reason, this socket was getting jammed up on the points. So I don't know why. I really wasn't paying too much attention, but that's what was happening. Now, if that does happen to you, what you can do is just click the reverse, spin it the other way, then click forward, and it will loosen it, and then go forward and start impacting. If it gets jammed again, you reverse, go forward, and start impacting. I think you got to be a little bit careful that it doesn't round off the points on the bolt or the nut. So that is just something I wanted to share. Check out those two links. I think it'll be interesting.